that moment of peace that you spoke about before?
You can look at like really famous people or healthy looking people or people that have done a lot in the world. But imagine if we can get into their head. But it's because internally they're dealing with a lot of pain. They're trying to mask it. They're not trying to destroy their careers or their life, but they're suffering so much. But we on the outside don't know. I had this longing to be free. I can't be free if I care about everybody. You know, everybody's judgments and opinions of me. If I haven't been thinking about me, that means I've been selfless. Without self, I haven't been focusing on self. Selflessness is without a sense of self, without thinking about ourselves. And when I realized at that moment that that's what I was doing, and that's why I got so much things done, suddenly I got anxiety. It was this sense of inner freedom, lightness in the body, no pressure, no pain in the body. The body felt so at ease. It's like the best feeling ever.
Welcome to the Intelligent Change podcast. Mike, it's so good to have you here.
Thanks, Alex.
Yeah, you just literally arrived in New York. We're sitting here in Central Park in the middle of rocks. And I think there's no better fitting location to have this conversation with you.
Yes, this place is amazing. It's my first time here.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
it's good to for both of us to discover it. It's actually one of my favorite spots when I do come to New York. And Mike, you're, to me and many millions of people around the world, one of the most inspiring people who helps people really connect with themselves, connect with their body, and connect with their life.
Mm.
And as you know, the name of this podcast is Intelligent Change. And I really want to start it right away with the moment that you wanted to create that intelligent change in your life. Because I know your background, your story,
Yeah.
and it wasn't always this holistic, healthy way. It was very, in a way, superficial and just trying to put that six pack abs. And, you know, from people who remember you from back in the day and not what you're currently doing. And so please take us through the journey of when kind of what led you to create this intelligent change in your life that you're now living and transforming other people.
You're definitely right about me not being very, very healthy or in this type of lifestyle. Life was really different before. I mean, I used to drink a lot. I used to smoke. I used to party hard. Uh, didn't care about like being peaceful or having less stress. I just cared about being successful and that's it, making it in life. You know,
The American dream, like you
the
wanted to
American
achieve
dream.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. And about 10 years ago, I realized that it didn't matter like what level of success I was going to reach. Happiness didn't come from there. And the thing is, we've all heard that. I think it's like people hear it so often that it doesn't really do anything when you go, hey, happiness is from the inside.
Hmm.
So the only way to really know that is to either experience that and then suddenly go, whoa, what is this? This, I am really happy. Or life to be so bad that there's no other option. And for me, it was the first one. It was experiencing happiness at a level that I never knew existed. And that was over 10 years ago, And I mean, I was stressed, I was in pain, my body was injured, I had constant rolling thoughts that just wouldn't stop, and I thought that was normal because pretty much most of my life was like that. And I
Hmm.
think for a lot of people, they don't think, having a lot of nonstop thoughts is like something is wrong with them. Like everybody's got thoughts.
Yeah.
Everybody's stressed. Oh, if you're an entrepreneur and you're working hard, you're gonna be very stressed, right? So I didn't think anything was wrong. And when I had an experience where the thoughts disappeared and all of the stress was gone in the body, and I felt very light and I felt so elevated and my mind expanded, suddenly I realized there was another state that existed, but I didn't know what it was. I didn't
Mhm.
know how to get there. And I didn't know exactly, how I even got to that point. I just knew I'm having that experience. And that's when I decided, hey, I'm going to go all in into this because what's the point in building more business and trying to create things when it never led to this level of happiness.
But can you speak more about, because if you look back to yourself or people look at back at you even then, by all means you looked very successful and
Right.
happy. You also had already that kind of fame and
Yeah.
money.
Well, it's all the outside stuff.
Yeah, but that's why I think uh it's
If people look, if you can look at like really famous people or healthy looking people or people that have done a lot in the world, but imagine if we can get into their head.
mm,
Like if we're sitting in their brain right now, we're sitting there and we're listening to what exactly is being said. So oftentimes, we on the outside think they're going, life is great. I'm helping thousands and millions of people. It's so abundant and all this stuff. That's what we might be imagining because that's what we see on the outside. Inside of their head, they're thinking, what am I gonna do with this problem? And God, we can't figure this out. And if this doesn't figure out, then this thing's gonna crash, and then I'm gonna lose this, and people are gonna be upset. They're constantly focusing on these issues and these problems and these challenges. And every time when they think in that way, their body's responding in tension and stress and worry and fear.
mm,
But on the outside, they've done so much. So then we on the outside go, I want your life because it looks really glamorous and awesome, and you're healthy and it's great. And then on the inside, they're going, you don't want this. Trust me. You don't want that. You just don't know what it's like to be in my head. And you
mm.
actually seen, like, if we watch interviews where very, very successful people that are doing a lot of things in this world, and you ask them, you'll hear some of them talk about this, about how people don't want to be them.
Like Elon Musk talks about that.
Elon talks about that. Yeah. And look what he's doing. But there's a lot of people that talk about this or that aren't even open to share this, but it's happening. And this is the reason why when you see somebody that are doing so well on the outside, they have habits that are destructive. And you're wondering, like, why would you go and take all these substances and mess up your voice if you're a singer, mess up your brain if you're a business person, if you're in sports and you need your body to be healthy, why are you drinking all the time? And why? Why would you?
Mm,
It's almost like it doesn't make sense. But it's because internally they're dealing with a lot of pain
mm,
and they're trying to mask it. They're not trying to destroy their careers or their life, but they're suffering so much. But we on the outside don't know. We just look at the what they've done and who they are, and we think everything is fine. That's when I had my own experience of that level of peace. That's why I realized, like, no, there's no point. Like I can keep going, but nothing in my life is going to change in the way that I want. And what I wanted was what I was experiencing at that moment. It was this sense of inner freedom, lightness in the body, no pressure, no pain in the body. The body felt so at ease. It's like the best feeling ever. And my mind was so expansive. It was like my mind just upgraded into this supercomputer, just upgraded into this level of knowingness. Like I knew everything. Can you imagine like not having any worries because whatever you used to worry about, you know the answer, you already understand everything. There's nothing to think about. You're just present. The moment at this moment right now is fabulous.
mm,
You know how like people are always wanting at this moment, we want something else to happen. I want something else to happen. I'm looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to that. I just can't wait till this. We're always like that. Even if something is so awesome, within seconds, we're ready. Oh, yeah, wait till this next thing.
mm.
It's like, and people don't talk about this because they don't think anything is wrong because everybody is doing this and nobody's even pointing it out. But when I experienced how it's like to actually be in the moment, it was very, very different than anything I've experienced. And that's when I knew, like, what's the point and everything else.
So the original question was, what led you to that intelligent change?
Right.
Was there a certain level of discomfort and pain that allowed you to then discover this? Like, what's the connection? Because oftentimes people, what you're speaking about, you're like, okay, it's kind of seems almost impossible
Right.
to many,
Yeah.
and maybe even to you at that point. So, walk us through that transformation and realization that you had. But what was the pain point that led you to actually discovering that side of possibility of life?
Well, the first thing was I realized that I wasn't authentic,
Mm,
and I actually thought I was. It's like one thing if somebody knows they're not and they're okay with it, but I actually believed that I was. And I sat through a couple of talks, and I came to the realization that I wasn't authentic. I cared so much about people's opinions and
Mm.
judgments. I was living my life, just based on what people wanted, what they thought was good. And it wasn't, well, when I realized that, it was very shocking because I actually thought that I'm like this really real person.
Mhm.
And then when I realized it, I said, this is unacceptable. Like I'm not okay with this at all.
Mhm.
Forget this. I'm gonna practice being authentic. And the one phrase that I got out of the talks was stop caring about what other people think.
Mm.
And I said, okay, I'm gonna do that. So then at that moment, I practiced not caring. And I don't know what to do, but I just not care. Okay, and then just say what I want, do what I want, and just not care, and just kind of go from there.
Mhm.
And that was the driver. That was the driver. If it wasn't for that, there wasn't really any point because it wasn't like I hit some rock bottom. I was actually
Mm.
on the opposite. I mean, the company was taking off. Everything was on this rocket ship. We were just expanding so fast. But when I realized that I wasn't authentic, and the way that I said to myself is, I'm so fake. And like that was literally what I said. Well, I'll tell you exactly what I said. I said, I'm a fake motherfucker.
Well, why did you say that? Like, what
Well,
prompted that?
well, I sat through some talks and I realized that authenticity meant that you don't care about what other people like. You're not driven by their opinions. Like you don't care about how they think of you. Because if you do, you're not expressing really what you want to express.
Mm.
You're doing it for this person, doing it for that person, doing it to get the validation, get the acceptance, get the love, get the belonging. And I was like, holy crap. I was like, that's me. But I wasn't okay with it because I had this longing to be free. And I can't be free if I care about everybody, everybody's judgments and opinions of me. So that's why I realized, well, if authenticity means to be real, then I'm fake. And
Mm.
that's why the line in my head, I'm so fake. I am this fake motherfucker. And I remember just sitting there going, just shocked. Like I never saw it in that way. And that's what drove me to make a change right then and there. But that eventually led to the other experience, but that was the driver. And I think some people don't care. I think some people realize that, they're not authentic, and they're just like, well, I don't know how to be. I can't,
Yeah.
here's why. And okay. But for me, I actually thought that I was. That's the
Mhm.
difference. When somebody's like, I am fake or I'm not real, then it's okay because they make up some excuse in their head. Fine, then life goes on. That's like saying if I can't walk or I'm very weak, well, here's why. My father's weak and I just got bad genetics. That's why. And they just don't do anything. But for me, I wasn't okay with it. I believed that I was authentic. I believed that I can do what I want. So I really had that belief in my head until I realized I wasn't.
And what was your path then towards finding authenticity? Because as you say, we all long to be free,
Yeah.
feel free, and really live in this world walking through our authentic selves. So, how do you then get to that point of your own authenticity and getting to know what is even authentic to you?
So most people are gonna think that it's about learning a lot of information. Let me
Mm.
learn how to be authentic. Let me learn about this and that. And what they're constantly facing is these roadblocks of feeling like they're trying to be authentic, but they struggle. You know, I realize that part of it is learning in their mind. It is shifting the perspective. Creating new ways of looking at things. But a huge part of it, the foundational part of it, is changing the energy in their body. And because it seems abstract, changing the energy in your body, what the heck does that mean? How can we touch it, grab it, smell it? And so it's like, well, I can't really, it's not really practical. Like, I don't know what that really means. So I can't really take any action on it. So let me just focus on the learning part. Let me just learn more about it,
Mm.
but not do it because what is that? So then when I started to study that, I realized that when we talk about changing energy in the body, what we're really talking about is on the physical level, because energy is not physical. So on the physical level, it's increasing the circulation, increasing a circulation of blood, the circulation of everything in the body, getting the nervous system to become calm. Because when the nervous system is very agitated, it creates a response in the brain. It gets the mind to think in problematic formats. It thinks like there's always problems, and we're literally looking for problems. So we got to get the body to be calm. We got to get the circulation on the physical level to be open. And then on the energetic level, we can call it opening of the chakras, the energetic meridians. And then from there, what happens is any type of emotions that we've been carrying around that we don't deal with will start to come to the surface. Like we start to feel them. And then from there, it's a process of just being present with everything that we haven't been present of, which is all of the stress and the worry and the fears and the guilt and all the stuff, to fully feel it and let it come out. People will unconsciously suppress it because they don't realize that if they were to fully feel it and just cry their eyes out and just bawl or just curl into a little ball and just all of these things that would happen if they really just fully faced it, they don't realize that that's the path towards letting it go. They think that the path is supposed to feel good, feel good, feel good, and now I feel great. No, it's more like you're gonna feel bad, you're gonna feel bad, you're gonna feel like shit, and just when you think everything is over and you're okay with everything is over, suddenly it starts to get a little bit better. And then you think that it's gonna get better and better and better, and then you're back in shit again. But then as you go through this process, and at some point, suddenly you see the light or you start to feel better. You start to feel better and better and better, and then you're out. But people don't realize that. They don't have somebody there to go, you feel really bad and it's okay, and dive into it. And everybody feels bad. Just so you know, this is not the only time. This is going to be worse maybe next time, but it's okay. Because how many more years do you have in your life? 30 years, 50 years? How old are you, right? So spend the months right now, spend the years right now, so you can have the rest of your life to be free to go after the things you really want, to live without all this burden. It's like it's worth the ROI. Right? You invest a little bit of time for the rest of your life. And it's like you never go back once you dive in. It's like you always have this anchor, but it just takes somebody to have to let go of the way they think they are. Like a person who thinks they need to be strong all the time because they're used to being like that. Now, this person has to feel very, very weak when what they're going to feel when they feel all these things, it makes them feel weak. Now, are they okay with feeling weak? Because they go, well, I'm a strong person. Well, if you think you're a strong person, then you're not okay with feeling weak. Then when the path towards feeling all this stuff inside makes you feel weak, you're not going to want to feel it. If you don't feel it, you can't let it go. You see? So then now people get stuck. So they need to know, and this is where the learning part comes in. They need to know that it's okay, that it doesn't matter how you feel. Let go of all the labels of who you think you are. All of that is made up. It's all made up. It's everybody is different at different moments. It doesn't matter. There's no box that we live in. When we let go of all the labels, now we can truly go through this process of change. Because the things that we need to face, the things that we need to experience, we don't try to change it. We let the experience be how it's supposed to be instead of trying to change it because I think I'm strong and therefore this is the type of experience I should be feeling. This is how I should be reacting. So they're trying to control it, but that's not how it works. That's not what is inside. You see, so
How does one start and how did you start? Because you obviously discovered so many things on this process of becoming and aligning yourself with more of your authentic self. So walk us through your own process and also potentially how can one start go on that path, and actually even this conversation that we're having, because when people see you online, they mostly see you as like the movement guy and releasing. And the
yeah,
conversation that we're having now is way deeper than just, look having a great body and moving and being mobile. We're talking in a way with aligning with your soul, with your truth, and being fully human.
right,
And to me, this is intelligent change. This is the most important thing that we can have in our lives, as you said, is like we're all gonna die. So if you invest this time to aligning to your truth, this can be one of the best investments that you'll make in your life. But how does one start? How did you start to then align yourself to this authenticity?
Well, the way that I started was I dug into information. I dug into everything I get my hands on, books, videos. I had endless conversations because I was I was basically going. I don't know if I would call it the long route. I didn't have anybody to really turn to, because in my world before, right, in the entrepreneur world, it's like this is not the type of subjects people really care about, you know. So, so I spent. It wasn't until about 2 years in when I started to have a sense of direction of how things worked. But but the progress was still slow,
Mhm.
you know, because I would just get introduced to a lot of different types of devices, methodologies, ways of thinking, concepts, and I didn't know if it was good for me, if it was right for me. So I would spend my time, I'll dive into it, and then I would take something that I found was useful, then I would go to the next thing. So I did that repeatedly on a lot of different types of teachings, and then eventually, little by little, I started to figure it out. But it was just like chipping away, like this big rock. It's just like just chipping away at a little bit at a time. Now, take keep in mind it took me many years. Now somebody goes, "Okay, well, I'll take many years." Well, here's the thing. I didn't work. I stopped working. So this is
For
all
many years.
all those years. All I did. Can you imagine somebody spending 10 hours a day at this every day, 7 days a week because they don't care about anything else? Like I stopped going out. I don't have dinners. I don't have go outs anywhere. I don't have calls with people. Just training and studying. And every time if I talk to somebody, I'm here looking for this information. I'm talking to people who's interested in this. All I did was that every day
For how
for
long?
years.
Wow.
Started in 2015. Had a
Mhm.
big shift in 6 years later, in 2021, almost 22.
Is this that
So
moment of peace that you spoke about before?
so I don't recommend that people go that route.
Yeah, it
It's
seems a lot.
it's
It's a
there's
big investment.
yeah,
It's still
no.
worth it, like you said, for the lifetime that you speak about.
It's for me, yeah, it was worth it.
Yeah.
But also I was in a position to do it,
Yeah.
I mean, I stepped away from my company, all the stuff that we built, walked
Yeah.
away from it, you know. So now if somebody was asked me, okay, what are the steps? What should I do? So I look at it as,
Let's fast track us.
yeah, let's fast track. Number one, in the body. Here's a general rule of thumb. The body is not supposed to have so much pain,
Mm.
physical pain. Somebody goes, "This is hard. That's why my body hurts." No, your body is not just weak. Your body is carrying a lot of old emotions. Your nervous system is all jacked up. Your body is sick. So the effect of sickness in the body is weakness, pain. So then somebody touches your arm, it hurts. Or, oh, my stomach hurts. I eat this thing or I get sick. All of this stuff is weakness or it's signs of lack of health. The body needs to be very, very healthy. You don't need to look fit. Looking fit doesn't mean that you're healthy, right? You can put on muscle and you can burn fat, and you'll still be unhealthy. And vice versa. You can carry some body fat and not have any definition and be much more healthier than the other. Health has to do with the body, the nervous system being calm, not having any blockages in the body. It has to do with the body feeling at ease,
Mhm.
not carrying so much emotions in there. The body being subtle, it's not so tight with knots everywhere. So that's on the physical body. That's what we need to get to. Now, there's a lot of ways to get to it, but that's the outcome. So, how does a person know when they're moving that direction? Their body is stronger. When they sit on the ground, when they press into their body, they don't have as much pain. When they press into their stomach, there's not pain. Their body is not nervous for no reason. Nothing's happening. You're just sitting there and just nervous. That's not there anymore. They're able to sleep. Right? These are all signs. You can't sleep. You got a problem. You know, things are coming out, you're spitting out things, there's a problem. Like, don't think it's just no, like these are actual signs. Pay attention. So, and then in the mind, if there's one main thing, it's quieting the mind. That's the general way to put it because it's simple to understand. Just quiet the mind. But the biggest thing that somebody really needs to focus on after they quiet the mind is they need to practice not constantly thinking about themselves. Because if they do, they'll always lead to problems.
Mhm.
They'll always lead to problems. It doesn't matter what they have or what they've done. Because if they think about themselves, then they're always going to think about what they want, what they have, and what they don't have. They're
Mhm.
always going to label everything. And when they do, there's only two outcomes. Either it's what they like or don't like. It's what they want or don't want. Success or failure. It'll constantly come out to these two outcomes. Now, what's the chances, right? You and I have been in business for a long time. What's the chances of you always succeeding? Every single transaction, every single campaign, every single product, it's
No, no.
impossible, right? Life doesn't work that way. So what happens when you don't succeed, right? Stress, upsetness, frustration based on the things you're doing, how important it is to you. So now people live in that way, constantly up and down. So when they succeed, they have an up. When they fail, they have a down. So when people are so used to progressing and growing, they're constantly looking at what they need to improve, which means they're constantly looking at the things that aren't working. Because if you're celebrating all day long, you're not reiterating,
Mm.
you're not progressing. So you're always looking at the lacks, which means you're always stressed out about. And then mentally, this is you see, for business, we call that, yeah, smart thinking, right? Reiterate, make changes. But when it comes to our health, when it comes to our peace of mind, it's the thing that stops it. You can't have peace of mind. You see, and that's the paradox is the more that we're constantly trying to analyze everything, the more chaotic our mind becomes. So for somebody who's really driven, if they want to do a lot of things in life, this is so vital and so important. More important than a person who wants to coast and just kind of chill and just their ambition is not as big. Because if their ambition is really big, they have to do this even better because they're bombarding their mind with all of this stress and all of these judgments and labels and the pressure is so much more. So they have to focus on this. If
Mhm.
that's what they need to do in their mind, they need to let go of thinking about themselves, let go of thinking about what they're gaining, thinking about what they want. They have to decrease that significantly and instead focus on the actions that they are working on. Focus on the thing that is happening at the moment. Focus on the goals, but not on what they gain from the goal. It's a fine line, but if they practice this, they'll know that there is a very clear distinction between you walk from here to there, you're just focusing on getting there, and you walk naturally, versus you walk from here to there, and then you focus on yourself and how you walk from here to there. The outside is just you walking from here to there. But the second where you focus on yourself, now you have anxiety and you're feeling weird, conscious, and then when you're walking from here to there, it's the same walk. We have to let that go, and that's what happens in the mind. Part of the process is silencing the mind. That's a big part of it.
Yeah, and I like how you connected. You have to go outside yourself. So for intelligent change, one of my biggest inspirations is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I'm not sure if you're aware of
Yep.
Maslow's hierarchy of
Yep.
needs, and typically it's the pyramid with kind of like your safety needs being at the bottom, just food, shelter, and
Right.
then kind of you keep going up. Let's say your emotional needs and also your more self-esteem needs going up, and then towards the top, usually the Maslow's hierarchy of needs is known as self-actualization.
Right.
And even, let's say, of intelligent change, we often say like we are a company that helps you self-actualize yourself. Really understand what is your purpose, what is your meaning in life. However, recently, what I've learned and connecting to what you're saying is that Maslow in his later life realized that beyond actualization, so beyond just thinking about
Hmm.
yourself and your meaning of life, the thing on top of it is actually transcendence.
Hmm.
And the way you reach transcendence is actually about thinking beyond the self and starting to think about also just the world and others. How do you deliver also a value to other people? But at the same time, you still have to go through these kind of different steps. But the ultimate transcendence is actually when you stop thinking about the self
All right.
and go beyond that. But let's finish that story of you actually talking about how did you reach that state of peace, authenticity after that, 6 plus years of searching.
I discovered it by accident because for 6 years I worked on being peaceful, worked on silencing the mind. And no matter how quiet my mind got, there was always this little bit of anxiety and worry and just non-satisfaction. And I didn't know what I needed to do, go deeper, but what does that mean? Meditate more. So nothing was working. And so while I'm spending all my time on this, I'm not working, we're not producing any income, we're spending and living. And my wife is 8 months pregnant and we're about to have our first child. And one night we're sitting in our room and she looks up at me and she's 8 months pregnant, her stomach's out to here. She looks up at me and she goes, "My account, what are we gonna do? Baby's coming, savings are running low." And I looked at her and I said, "Well, don't worry, we're gonna build the business, build the site, build the programs, do all this stuff, right? Like I've done in the past." I was like, "Oh yeah." And she looked at me and she said, "Well, Mike, you've been saying this for over 3 years. When you gonna do it?" And I was immediately about to respond in this defense about, I can do this, just take this and this, and I got it. But then at that very moment, I stopped and I realized that there was no need to defend, that there was no need to go and justify. The fact is, she was right. I didn't do it, and I've been talking about it since we got together. We've been together at the time for about 3.5 years. So then I looked at her and I said, "Okay, I'm going to do it." And then I walked out of the room and I started working. That moment, and that was like 9 o'clock at night. And I worked till 2 a.m., went to sleep. Next morning, I woke up and worked all day. You got to keep in mind, like, I didn't work. We had an offer that took maybe 3 hours of work a week, and that was it. We made like maybe 2 to 3 grand a month, barely surviving, taking money out of savings every month. And then suddenly I'm working all day, morning to night, morning to night, morning to night. My sister passes away a few weeks later, and I'm dealing with funeral stuff, and I have to decide like, do I fly to US or stay at Bali and take care of my wife? And I'm still having to work. So then I'm taking care of all the stuff, and I'm still working. So then fast forward 6 months from that night. One night I'm working. It's like 10 o'clock at night, and I stopped and I just reflected on the work that I've been doing over the last 6 months and realized that I did so much work. I got a lot done. And I didn't know, and I was surprised on that because I got exceptionally a lot of done. Like I've done more work in 6 months that I would have took me maybe 2 years to do. And I didn't know why I was able to do that. And I started to look for clues. I thought, well, was there anything I discovered, any new technique? No, couldn't be that. Nothing. And then I looked at my calendar and I saw that my calendar was full. And the only thing that I can recall is that for the last 6 years, I did not want to live by this calendar.
Mm.
I wanted to be free, not living by my calendar like I did most of my life. And so I said, well, this is the only thing that's really different is I have this calendar that's full. And I thought, well, then that means I must not have been thinking about what I want for my schedule. Because if I did, I would not fill this thing up at all. So I said, so that means I must not be thinking about what I want over the last 6 months. So well, if I haven't been thinking about what I want, that means I haven't really been thinking about my desires, which means I haven't been really thinking about me. So I said, oh my God, that's it. If I haven't been thinking about me, that means I've been selfless without self. I haven't been focusing on self.
Mm.
And then I started thinking about all the teachings I read about selflessness over the last 6 years and how now I'm actually experiencing selflessness for the first time. I said, oh my God, that's what it really means. It wasn't about helping people. Because, see, the whole time I thought, oh, help people, help people. No, helping people is an effect of selflessness, one effect, but is not the primary thing. Because somebody can help people in the back of their mind, they're going, I'm helping them. It's not helping me. So on the outside, it looks the same. So selflessness is without a sense of self,
Mm.
without thinking about ourselves. And when I realized at that moment that that's what I was doing, and that's why I got so much things done, suddenly I got anxiety at that very moment because I was thinking about myself. And then when the anxiety kicked in, I said, "Uh oh, this was the first time I felt anxiety in 6 months, like ever since that night." So I said, "Oh," I stopped and I went back to work.
That's what a lot of people do, yeah.
and and then so over since that night, I started to pay attention, but it's a paradox because if I pay attention to if I'm thinking about myself, well then by default, I'm focusing on myself and therefore I stop. I stop being in that flow. I stop I get out of that state. So I had to practice just practicing on not thinking about all the stuff, just focus on the moment, focus on the goals, focus on what I need to do, but let go of what I like or don't like. Let go of what I'm afraid of or my preference or what I agree with. Let it go and just execute. And only when I really have to think about my preferences do I spend a very small time doing so. But I limit it because when I do, suddenly I start to focus on myself and I drop out of the state. And it's been over 3.5 years of practicing this. And now, most of the day, I'm in this state.
So, can you repeat again in small action steps, how do we reach that state?
Okay. So, all right. So,
Is there like a four-step process for this?
foundation, step one, body.
Mhm.
Every morning, every evening, get the body to relax, get the body's nervous system to turn off from being stressed. You got to be able to stay calm, right? Got to get the energy flowing, right? Every morning, every evening. That's really, really important. That sets the foundation. If not, your mind can't change. Number two, practice letting go of constantly thinking and judging everything because a person's always doing that. So, something they can do is practice stopping unnecessary thinking. If you don't need to think about it, don't think about it. Hey, it's getting dark outside. Yeah, it is. Did I need to think about that to say that? What's the point in making a comment about it when we know that it's happening? Wow, this rock is hard. Right. You knew the rock was hard before you said it in your mind. Let go of unnecessary thinking. And then once we let go of unnecessary thinking, the act of doing so helps us start to control thoughts. What comes in, what comes out.
Yeah, because I even with that awareness, as you said, even myself, a lot of the conversations I have with others, myself, it's really just unnecessary commentary.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's nice, it feels good. Like, for example, today's like, oh, it's really beautiful weather and I like it, or oh, this is bad. Like, there's a constant just commentary. And that happens whether it be with our own thoughts or with the external conversations that we're having. But what you're saying is this ability to have this awareness and observation, you're actually able to go on a more deeper, more authentic level with yourself or not.
Yes, you can go on a much deeper level because we're not constantly focusing on random things that doesn't matter. The rock is hard. I gotta pee. I'm thirsty. It's getting dark. Hey, I wonder. There's no point. We just randomly throw our attentions around, and therefore we aren't able to pay attention to this moment, to our life.
Mhm.
Our attention's just being scattered. So that's number two. First, number one is morning and evening practice to go ahead and calm the body down, let go of all the tension, get the energy to flow. Number two is practice silencing the mind by letting go of unnecessary thinking. And that automatically gets you to control the mind. Okay. Now, there's a whole bunch of other mini steps I'm going to put in between. But once we do number two and we start letting go of unnecessary thinking, then we start to be able to control our thoughts. We start to be able to control what comes in and what comes out. And then we practice letting go of needing to think about ourselves. One big step to take on that is letting go of self labels. That will be the big milestone next. Letting go of self labels. That means trying to look this way in front of this person or that person, trying to think of ourselves in this way or that way. I'm an important person. I'm a person that is this, this, and this. Let that go. Anytime when we are thinking that, let it go. Hey, I should be doing this because I'm this person. Let that go. And this will be a very ongoing process because the person is constantly doing this to the point to where they don't even know how life is without doing this. It's like it's always happening. So then they have to practice this every single day. And these are the big milestones. And like I said, there are many little small steps in between this, but these are the big ones. These are the big ones. And once they do that, then they can go to the next thing, which is not thinking about themselves. and therefore only focusing on actions, focusing on what they're doing, but not on their own personal gain, not on themselves and their preferences,
Mhm.
and only keep that to a minimum
Yeah.
because they're not going to be able to do that absolutely because it's our life and we still need to dictate our life in the direction of our life. But we don't have to do it constantly. We decide on what we're going to do. You decide this is the way you're going to take intelligent change and take this company because of etc. Now from there you let go of your internal reasons and you focus on the goal, focus on what you're going to create and then move forward from there. Not constantly thinking I'm going to get this, I'm going to become this.
Mm.
There's no need. You already know that. Now let it go. No need to focus on it.
Yeah. This is so powerful, and we this is going to be a very interesting podcast because we started with the sun was setting. It's now pretty much dark. We're in Central Park. So my last question to this, because and I really do want to expand on this in the future. So next time when we meet, wherever in the world, or hopefully in London, let's go for like, we need a deep dive with you. I
Yeah.
think we need like 2 to 3 hours at least. Um, However, on the last point, one of the things that you spoke about is really the first step is about the body. And something that I've learned from you, I've attended your Flow 60 retreat in Bali, and that's how we met. And I'm sure it has evolved so much since those days, even more into your own personal practice. I, to this day, still incorporate a lot of the things that I've learned from you, whether it be from you online. Even this morning, we're out, in Brooklyn by Brooklyn Bridge, facing Manhattan, doing, hops, doing dead arms, all those other things. It has helped me so much just to release like the tension in my body. And there's so much still like for me personally to learn. However, even me incorporating, let's say, 5 minutes of your practices that I learned from you in my daily life has helped me so much just to feel better. And obviously, so talk us through, I know it can be like a few hours just speaking on this, but even in just, uh, what's the, 80/20? What's really the simplest thing that people can start with their body? Because similar to, as you know, me creating the 5 minute journal, I really believe the way we get people to change is not telling me, hey, here's the 60-minute kind of routine. It first starts with just maybe a few minutes or just like 5 minutes a day. So, what can people incorporate in their lives to help them really change the state and start the morning and evening to really have a beautiful day?
So if we give them really something really short to start, it'll need to include meditation at the very end so they can connect themselves and get centered. They need to go and release tension, so they need to do some light stretching. They need to do a little bit of exertion and they need to warm up the body and get some energy flowing. So that move that you talked about, hops, is a really easy move, right? You're basically just jumping up and down, maybe an inch or two off the ground, right? And just lifting your shoulders up. Right. So do that for about 60 seconds, 30 to 60 seconds. Right? 'Cause somebody's calf could be tired after 60. Then from there, the energy is flowing. Then, if there are two exercises out of all the countless exercises that are really good and simple to do, it will be squats and push ups, lower body, upper body. Now, they can do them off the counter if push ups are really tough to do on the ground, do them off the counter. And squats, you can even use a chair or just go halfway. And I would recommend doing about, for squats, let's say 10 seconds. No, sorry, to keep it really short, let's do 30 seconds of squats, 30 seconds of push ups. If they want to do, let's say, 2 rounds, one round is 60 seconds, 30, 30. Right. So they just did squats and push ups. If they did 2 rounds, that would be 2 minutes. So right now we're at about 3 minutes. Right. They hopped for about 30 seconds to a minute. And then from there, stretch. They sit down, they can do a couple stretches. Now, stretches, to make it really simple, they can just select 3 stretches that they want to do, whatever stretches. Because one thing that people don't realize about their nervous system is completely connected. If you stretch your body, you start to relax the body. And one part of the body that relaxes help promotes relaxation in other parts. And so take 3 stretches, take about a minute to go ahead and do these 3 stretches, whatever they are. And then the last thing that you do is you sit down, close your eyes, and then you meditate. And then you meditate for another minute or 2 minutes. And so the whole thing is going to be about 5 to 6 minutes. It's very, very fast. it flies back pretty quick, and anybody can do it. But what people don't realize is this small time to check in with themselves starts to reset their energy. It starts to let their mind settle. People, like you mentioned, you're right. People don't need to start off with 60 minutes or something a lot. They can just do these little micro workouts to get things moving. And then when they start to be consistent on this, they can add a little bit more and a little bit more. There's a quote that I love telling people. 70% every day is better than 100% once in a while. So just do that little bit every day. And over time, you're going to do so much more because what they're building on is habit. It's not about that big workout. It's about habit. That's the part where people win. And when they can do something short like this, they can establish habit.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you so much, Mike, for this conversation. In New York, in dark Central Park, we're now the last ones left in the park. In the park, and as we sign off, where can people find you, and where do you want to direct people?
Uh, they can find me on social media. They can go to Mike Chain Official on Instagram. And if they want to learn about the programs and then work with me directly, go to flow60.com. And that's 60.
Thank you so much for being here. Again, big fan. I still do, like I said, your movements every day, and I'm excited to have a deeper conversation with you in the future. So looking
Yeah.
forward to having it.
We gotta have one.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mike. Appreciate it.